Well folks, here we are, day one of course of Special Projects pack number 8, and we're kicking off with of course the hero car of the pack, a racing version of the Maserati MC20. This is technically not a replica, of course the visual design from this particular player that I'll put on screen, or I'll actually put it in the description below so you can check that one out if you want to. Obviously there are a ton of different racing liveries in the game and racing aero etc. that players have done. I like the Vitaphone, of course it's a nice throwback to the MC12. This one though is a fictional build. I'm calling it like a Super Trofeo or a Trofeo Corse, that kind of thing, the kind of naming that Maserati likes to use, but it's not necessarily based on any one real car. It's more of like an LM race car kind of build, which then allows you of course to change it around depending on what you need. So 645 horsepower, 1200 kilos. So believable numbers, certainly not too far off a Group 3, but not necessarily strictly adhering to those. Now obviously this one does have a wide body, and of course, again, if you do download the player's design, you'll have all the visual stuff sorted out anyway. As far as the actual parts, of course you want your Stage 1 weight. As far as the Club Sports section, we've got the power restrictor, Stage 2 weight, and the ballast. We will be using those as well. For the semi-racing stuff, you want the fully customised computer, the racing crank, the fully customised diff, of course Stage 3 weight. I've opted not to bother with the rigidity. You don't actually need it on this one, it's already good enough through corners. We do have anti-lag. I know different players prefer to have it or not to have it depending on your fuel economy typically, so I'll leave it up to you. And of course, even if you do fit it, you can technically turn it off, so it's a good thing to have anyway. We've got the race exhaust, the race filter, the race manifold and pads. I've actually opted to not go with the usual discs. As you'll see in a second, I've gone for the carbon ceramics, and that's purely a visual thing. I thought it suited the car, so you don't have to pay the extra for those. You can just go for these, drilled or slotted. They have the same effect. We've got the racing clutch and flywheel, race suspension, the race transmission, naturally, and of course, racing hard tyres. For those who are maybe new to my tunes and are wondering why not mediums or softs, purely because if you build a car that needs soft tyres, then it will tend to only be good on soft tyres. Whereas if you build it to be good on hards, then chances are it will be even better on softs. So it's more of like a fail-safe way of tuning. We've got the steering angle adapter, which of course is usually more of a drifting thing, but I have found that it does help with the steering angle on certain vehicles for rally or for road racing. We've got the hydraulic handbrake. You don't really need to do that, but sometimes I like to use a handbrake to get out of a bit of trouble if I overcook a corner. And of course, as I said, the carbon ceramic brakes. And as far as the ultimate section, I haven't bothered with any of that. You can only do the titanium stuff anyway, so I'll leave it down to you. That's only if you want to give it even more power. Of course, you can take the power way higher than I have if you want to. So like I said, it really does depend on what kind of point level you're working with or what you need it for. As far as the tyres, of course, we've got the hards fitted. For the fully customised suspension, we've got 77mm on the ride height, 4 for anti-roll, 32 on the compression for the dampers with 40 on the rebound, 2.85 for the frequency on the springs, 3 degrees of camber, and then as far as the toe, we've towed out 0.10 on the front and toe in 0.20 on the rear. As far as the diff, 10, 20 and 30. Personally, I love the way this thing handles and the way it performs. You can kick its tail out just a little bit, but especially by mid-engine rear-wheel drive standards, it's a surprisingly forgiving car. A lot of cars like that can be quite twitchy, but this one is very, very nicely balanced. As far as the transmission, I've just slapped on an auto setting of 310 kilometers an hour, which is, up around, not quite 200 miles an hour, but for most tracks that's good enough. Like I said though, you can change that if you need to. As far as the power restrictor, that is untouched. I have set the output on the ECU though to 88% just to get it to 645 horsepower. There's no particular reason why I set it on that, I just like the number. Again, it's kind of a throwback to the MC12 GT1. And as far as the weight, I've brought it up to 1200 kilos with a 30 kilo ballast, and I've put that all the way to the front. It's still nowhere near a 50-50 split, but it's just a little bit closer with 42 over the front. And as far as the downforce, we've got those set as high as they can go, with 400 on the rear, 180 on the front, and it's such a good tune that the cops are coming in. You can hear them driving past in the background. As far as the anti-lag, we've got that set on weak. Like I said, different people like different preferences. I set it on weak because I didn't want it to necessarily be, popping and crackling like crazy all the time, like a rally car, but I'll leave it down to each individual person as to what you want. And as far as the rest, it's pretty simple. You can just see everything we've already done. So naturally, all that remains, now that we've done the build, and now that you've put your own spin on it, depending on what point level or what power level you want, let's jump out to the track and of course show you what it can do. Now this one is pretty easy to talk about because, like I said, it's the hero car of the pack, and as far as superlatives, well, it's solid, it's fun, and it's fast. Those are the three most important things. It's not that you can't lose control, you know, if you push any car hard enough you can, but it's a very forgiving car. It's really nice to work with, very easy to drive, like I said, very forgiving as well, and it's certainly very quick. In fact, taking it around this track, it was a couple of seconds quicker at the Red Bull Ring than the newer shape AMG race car that I took around here. And I wasn't necessarily pushing the Mercedes as hard as I probably could have been, but even to be able to compare this to an actual Group 3 car is kind of a good sign. You know, with road cars, if you give them enough power, then of course you could technically take on a Group 3, but to take on a Group 3 with 645 horsepower, which isn't that much different to an actual Group 3 car, it is a testament to just how strong this thing is. So if you do decide to use it, if you want to go for this visual design, of course give the player some love from me, and naturally if you are new to special projects you will definitely want to stick around for the rest of this week for the other 9 builds that we're doing in pack number 8. And of course, until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.